Good evening, Jefferson City. I'm Matthew McFarland, the Cole County Government Reporter with the News Tribune. Thank you for joining us tonight for a property tax forum. I'm joined to my right by Cole County Collector Larry Vincent. Larry, thanks for joining us tonight.
Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, thank you. And to the right of him is Cole County Assessor Tim Teroff. Tim, thanks for joining us tonight.
Glad to be here. Thank you.
We're here tonight to discuss two ongoing developments in 2026, two of the largest county projects being undertaken by both of their departments. For the collector's office, it'll be the 2026 version of the senior tax freeze, which launched earlier this month, but you're now offering in-person assistance starting today.
Starting today.
Yeah. And then for the assessor's office, it's going to be a large mass-scale reinspection ahead of the reassessment year in 2027. Why don't we start, just kind of give us a breakdown here. I'll start with you, Larry. Senior tax freeze as a whole, freezes the property tax liability of eligible seniors. Why don't you kind of break down just a general overview of what the senior tax freeze program is?
Well, depending on what your base year is, which is the year you signed up in, that is what you paid in taxes that year. That's your tax liability. That is where your taxes going forward will be frozen at, except for two things: the blind pension fund and the school bond indebtedness, and that's a small portion of the overall levy that's charged in Cole County. Mm-hmm. So those two things can continually go up. The state, the blind pension fund goes to the state, mm-hmm. and obviously they eliminated themselves from the tax freeze, sure. but passed everything on to the counties to freeze. So, and then the school bond indebtedness, because that's voter approved part of the levy, mm-hmm. then that's allowed to still be collected based on whatever your current assessment is.
Right, and this is the second iteration for Cole County of the senior tax freeze.
Right, 2026 is our second year. We started the renewal process back in early February. We started the new applications for 2026 basically April 1st, and the in-person help starting today.
Gotcha. And that in-person help is available Wednesdays and Thursdays from 10 to 2. Gotcha, and that's in the commission chambers.
They can come in other times if they choose to and come to the collector's office, and we'll try to help them or however we can. Mm-hmm. But obviously right now our hands are busy trying to process all the renewals.
Mm-hmm. Right. And that's new this year, obviously, with the second iteration, is right. You're having every senior has to physically renew their membership.
It's a pretty simple one-page renewal application. It's got 3 questions on it. We're hoping to do away with that going forward. Mm-hmm. We just have to have some things in place to take care of finding out if somebody's passed away or finding out if the property has changed ownership.
Gotcha.
And we don't have that in place yet to move forward with no renewal.
Gotcha. And when will applications close for both those renewals and new applicants?
Right now, the plan is for June 30th
mm-hmm.
of this year. So if you don't have it filled out by June 30th, you're going to be out of luck.
Gotcha. Also, moving on to you, Tim. Obviously, you took office last year, taking over some may put it, dysfunctional property tax assessment system, and you can't actually reassess until 2027, of course, but you're planning to do a large-scale reinspection of residential properties in the county.
That's correct. Our plan is to do a full exterior inspection on every residential parcel in the county. Mm-hmm. That's somewhere in the neighborhood. It's over 20,000, mm-hmm. and so so we'll be sending out impact notices ahead of that, and we'll be kind of laying it out geographically throughout the county. But after we send out impact notices, we'll be sending our field work team out to do full inspections. And then hopefully we can get a good baseline on how accurate our data is after those field inspections are gathered up. And then after that, we'll send the final in 2027. We'll be sending the final impact notices that this is what our value, this is what we have you appraised at for our purposes.
Gotcha. So there'll be essentially 2 rounds of impact notices saying, hey, we're going to come look, and then next year when rubber actually hits the road, then you're going to be saying, hey, this is what you're going to be set at.
That is correct. And the 26 letter will also have an estimate of value, but mm-hmm. but depending on how many changes we get after the full inspection relative to dimensions and square footage and outbuildings and that sort of thing, then it might change that value. It might impact what that value is, and then we'll send that again in 27.
Right, and for folks who are unfamiliar, this mass reinspection is kind of a response, right, to Cole County's property values being very, very out of compliance with the state tax commission. I believe the last number I saw was around 70%, when you need to be closer to 90% to be compliant with the state tax commission. Do you think it's possible even to get Cole County back into compliance in 1 year, even with this mass reinspection this year?
Right. And I think I think the last ratio study was down in the 60s. No, this first go round is just going to be a baby step.
Sure.
We're going to take a common sense approach to how we go about doing it. And the objective is to try to do this over the period of several assessment cycles. So this first one will be a baby step to try to get us moving in the right direction. The statistics indicate that the single-family market in Cole County over the last 17 years has increased by 122%, whereas the appraised values at the assessor's office have gone up by 12% over that same period of time. So we can't make that up in one reassessment.
Right. There's
cycle.
a disconnect there between market value and what they're set at as by the government. Right.
That is correct.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Gotcha. I want to talk with you both about these programs and the type of toll they're going to put on your staff, right? These are both things that you maybe wouldn't be taking on, or another collector, another assessor in other counties wouldn't be taking on, kind of circumstances forcing you to take these on. For you, Larry, what is administering the senior tax freeze, which especially last year was quite an undertaking? What kind of toll does that put on your staff, both with manpower and with your budget?
Well, we're probably going to be hiring 5 part-time people to help do the process. I lost 2 employees after the first of the year. My chief deputy retired, and then the city hired one away from me. So I'm kind of short-staffed right now. I don't know how many of the renewals we got in, but we are just up to February 24th on processing renewals.
Gotcha.
So we're 2 months behind on that. Hopefully the part-time help that is helping doing the in-person enrollment will have some free time where we can have them do the renewal or the new applications that we've already received. We've received a couple trays full of those already.
Gotcha.
So we'll get it all done. It'll probably be closer to the end of August by the time we get caught up.
Sure.
Unless something changes real quick or not as many people apply for as new sign-ups. But we had a little over, I think, 5,100 last year sign up, so we're thinking we're going to process close to 5,000 renewals at least. And
right.
No telling how many new ones we'll get. It was slow today, but like I said, we've gotten a bunch already that were dropped off at the office. We've gotten a bunch that were completed online. They can complete them online at our website. It has a DocuSign place where they can sign it electronically and submit the application, a picture of their driver's license and a picture of their paid receipt if they have it. If not, we'll print one off for them when we get their application. So hopefully that process will go smooth, but I don't think we have near as big a task as Tim and his staff have.
For sure, especially not this year, right? I know last year was quite an undertaking. Tim, you've upstaffed for this, right? I believe you've added 5 or 4 new positions. What kind of toll is this going to take, even with those new positions, right? This is a huge undertaking. What is this going to take from your staff, both in manpower and in spending, either through your budget or general revenue?
Right. So we're still under what the State Tax Commission recommends that we have for staff. So we're trying to be good stewards of the county's money relative to that. But our big hires were in field inspectors. I've hired 3 residential field inspectors and 1 commercial field inspector, and they're going to have a big task ahead of them, keeping the pace that we've put in front of them to get all the properties viewed. And it's imperative that we get them all viewed because we want this to be fair for everyone, and so everyone is going to have a full inspection conducted on their residential property, hopefully, barring any unforeseen circumstances. But it's the right now, just changing everything operationally and bringing it into the 21st century. We're implementing a fieldwork software that basically they go out with an iPad. Used to go out with printed paper, pencil and paper, come back, keystroke that in. Now they go out, take photographs of that property, do any data entry out in the field, and it automatically populates into DevNet, our software, and we've got somebody as a gatekeeper blessing that before it, QC on that end before it goes in.
Sure.
And then we're implementing a sales comparison camera, and we've had the first run of it, and we're kind of working the bugs out. We're on the bleeding edge of all of this new technology, but if Larry came in and said, Tim, how are you coming up with a value on my property? I'll be able to pull up a sales comparison analysis that says, here are 5 comparable sales that indicate your property is worth X dollars. And so it's just really the biggest burden, I think, has been on just figuring out the new technology and implementing it and getting it coordinated with our software.
Sure, a lot of operational changes, but the work by and large is staying the same, right?
Correct.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Gotcha. Awesome. How do these two programs kind of, obviously you guys are both sides of the property tax coin here in Cole County, just for both of you, how do these two programs kind of overlap with each other, right? Obviously you're freezing liability and you'd be raising assessment, not necessarily liability, depending on levies. How do you ensure that, say someone gets their property value raised, how do you ensure that their liability doesn't get raised? What kind of interdepartment, collaboration has to go on with that?
Well, fortunately, we both have the same software, so it's all a part of that process. DevNet is the company we use, and they've done this for years before in the state of Illinois. So I think they've got a pretty good program that will track it as it's needed. They also they do the city of St. Louis and the county of St. Louis, so they do some big cities information-wise. They do Jefferson County, Buchanan County, a lot of the larger counties. They're doing Greene County also, so they've probably got 3 of the largest counties in the state.
Right.
So they've tested their software pretty strenuously, and I think it's going to work for both of us.
Well, and I think a key to that is Larry and I kind of have an open door policy, and we're trying to collaborate to make sure that everything runs efficiently and smoothly, and then if there are any bumps in the road, there's direct lines of communication going between the 2 offices to try to head that off at the pass.
Right, and you guys are unique in that sense where obviously every Cole County government department with an elected head is separate and has its own budget and its own authority, but in the fact that you guys have to work together, right? There's not a separation of powers there as there would be with, say the recorder of deeds and the collector, right? How do you guys ensure that, that open door policy, how do you guys ensure that your staff are communicating? It's not just the 2 heads kind of going back and forth.
Well, I lost an arm wrestling contest to Larry the first day, and he said, this is the way we're going to do it. And no, I have deferred to Larry's experience on all this. He's been around the barn a few times and been very helpful for me to bring me up to speed with any questions I might have. And so just basically lean on his experience on that.
Gotcha.
And I think Tim's doing a great job. There was no leadership, in my opinion, in the assessor's office for a long time, and he's really pulled it together, and better working environment over there. I hear from the employees, though I'm not sure why, but there's a better working environment over there. Stuff is getting done, and it wasn't before. I think Tim's making a lot of the right moves for the benefit of all of Cole County's taxpayers. I think tax levies probably would have been lower if the assessed values had been kept up to date, and they weren't. So there were levy increases passed by school districts and volunteer fire departments and that, and hopefully with these increases it'll force some rollbacks through the Hancock Amendment on what those levies are, so that the burden is not as big as what it sounds like when you say and your values are going to go up 20 or 30%. So
right, and the Hancock Amendment, for folks who don't know, is in the Missouri Constitution, it limits the amount your liability can raise to the CPI or Consumer Price Index, or 5%, I believe, or whichever is lower.
Yeah.
Right. Gotcha. A protection for Missouri taxpayers to not see, for example, a 12% increase in 1 year be unconstitutional. Awesome. Well, I think we're going to take a quick break here. When we come back, we'll be talking more broadly about the property tax system in Cole County as a whole instead of individual departments. So stick with us on the other side of this break, and we'll be right back. Welcome back to the News Tribune Forum. I'm Matthew McFarland, the Cole County Government Reporter with the News Tribune. Once again joined to my right by Cole County Collector Larry Vincent. Larry, thanks again for joining us.
Thanks again for inviting me.
And to his right, Cole County Assessor, Tim Teroff. Tim, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
And we're here talking about both sides of the property tax coin. I think the first thing when I talk about property taxes in Cole County right now is the State Tax Commission, right? Statewide authority on property values. They issue a market value for each county. You have to be within 90% to 110% to fall within compliance. If you're not compliant, they can withhold assessor funds or, as they did last year, issue a blanket raise. Tim, I wanted to ask you, as you're kind of going into this mass reassessment and, of course, your first reassessment year in 2027, what's that communication like with the STC? Are you trying to ensure that there's not a blanket raise? Is there the threat of, like in 2025, an assessment raise and then a blanket raise across the county?
Yeah, I'm basically just making them aware of what our process is and that our objective is to handle values as fairly as possible so we don't have a lot of disparities. We don't have one property at 50% of market value and another property at 90% of market value. This first baby step that we're going to take, our objective is to find out how far each property is from market value and lessen that gap. Mm-hmm. Make it more fair and more equitable, because if a property is appraised at a relative higher amount than another one, then there's inequity in how much what their tax liability is. So right. We want to make it as fair as possible. I think they're aware of the fact that we're trying to make a move in the positive direction, and that we're putting science behind what we're doing with this sales comparison analysis. And so they understand that I'm not going to make it up in one assessment cycle. So they've been very receptive to everything that I'm showing them that we're doing, and I think they understand that it can't be corrected in one assessment cycle. Right.
I'm curious, when you're looking kind of at the broader picture of the county, are there certain areas of the county that are maybe closer to market value that have maybe been hit harder by reassessments, quote unquote, than others?
I haven't seen that. I can tell you when we first started, I was, kind of encouraged to make an across-the-board adjustment again. Sure. of X percent across the board, and I said I'm not going to do that, because that perpetuates the inequity that makes the fairness even farther apart. Mm-hmm. And so we are going in through this sales comparison analysis, and we're going to compare apples to apples all the way through the county. And so as we do that, I think it'll let us know if there are pockets that maybe are farther, a greater distance from market value. But if one property's at 50% of market value in Taos and it's at 50% of market value in Centertown, they're still going to receive a commensurate increase to their total appraised value.
Right, even though they may be similar homes with different values, but it also location plays into it, of course. Right.
Correct, and that'll be factored into the comparable sales that are included in their market analysis. Mm-hmm. And then so we'll be comparing apples to apples in that regard, trying to pull comparables from the closest neighborhood that we can. One area where we're hamstrung is in Missouri. There's no certificate of disclosure. There's no you do not have to, if you sold your property to Larry, you are not obligated to disclose that sales price to me. I'll send you a sales questionnaire, and hopefully one of you will send it in, but we probably get less than 5% of those returned. Mm-hmm. It would be great if I had access to all the sales that took place in our market, but we do not. Right. But I think we have enough to do a good statistical analysis throughout the county.
Gotcha. Kind of compiled information historically.
That is correct. Right. And we're going back historically, instead of saying, when I was a fee simple appraiser, they wanted sales that had taken place within the last 6 months. Right now, we're happy to go back 3 or 4 years for a comparable sales, because we're not pushing the envelope of value. We just want to make sure that we've got a good grasp on what the general market is doing.
Right, a baseline. Right.
Yes.
How does it, Larry, when the STC comes in and makes a blanket order like they did last year, and especially a blanket order that came late in the cycle, how does that impact the collector's office as you guys, start to
get all the calls.
Sure. Right.
They get their tax bills and they call us. We transfer them to Tim.
Right. I can imagine you guys both get a lot of calls from folks that would maybe go to another department.
Yeah, during tax season, the two things that keep us the busiest is people that call about their tax bill, and then on their real estate, and then people on their personal property forgot to fill out their assessment form and return it, so they don't get a tax bill, and they're wondering where their tax bill is. And that's kind of a messy process, because then we do have to transfer them to Tim's office so they can do the paperwork, because obviously the assessment form is what generates the tax bill, what people turn in on their assessment form. So that's probably two of the busiest things we do during tax season, other than collect the taxes and distribute them.
Right, distribute them back out
To the taxing entities.
Gotcha.
We have 20-some taxing entities that we distribute to, so, and we have to do that. We're a first-class county. We have to do that by the 15th of the end of the month, so that keeps us busy.
Right,
So,
right. And just to clarify, while you may collect taxes and you may set the assessed value, those levies are set
by the taxing district.
Right,
yes.
by the taxing district.
The schools set their own levy, the volunteer fire department set their own levy, the cities set their own levies, so
And
we
county
have
as well,
nothing,
of course, right.
and the county does also. So neither of our office has anything to do with that.
Right, with the actual liability, right? Maybe provide a piece in the puzzle, but not.
Yeah, they a lot of their levies are based on what the assessed value is, whether they have to roll their levy back or not.
Right.
Depending on what they turn into the state auditor after they pass their levies to get them approved.
Gotcha.
So
Does it make it more difficult for the collector's office when you have these one wide scale reassessments, and two when you have such a big jump? I know some parts of Cole County jumped by as much as 15% last year with their valuation. Does that cause any issues downstream for the collector's office besides the angry phone calls, of course?
no, that's really it. I mean, our system is pretty well proven as far as them entering the values, and once they enter the values, and then we run through the process of creating the tax bills and printing them or having them printed and mailing them out.
Gotcha. Tim, I know there were some mishaps with DevNet with the STC's blanket order, and the majority of those were, they had gone above what they were allowed to be raised. How are you guys? Did you guys learn anything from that process going forward? Are there ways to kind of mitigate that if, God forbid, the STC does come back in?
Right. And when you're dealing with thousands and thousands of parcels, there will be mistakes made, and we have the opportunity to right that. But I think what had happened was DevNet came in and actually implemented the percentage of change instead of and it was pretty late in the game, instead of the assessor's office doing it. What we're going to be doing this time, we're going to be controlling that information. And so if there is a mistake that is made, it'll be our fault.
Sure.
But and we'll own that. But we won't go to a third party to generate those value changes.
And in general, you of course prefer the local authority to be making those changes, as opposed to a statewide authority that is an expert on property values but isn't intimately familiar with Cole County.
And that's why a blanket adjustment, it is not, there's no fairness in that. If you're making an across the board adjustment for everybody, in theory you would think, well, that's the same percentage for everybody. But if there is an inequity in that appraised value relative to its proximity to market value, then it perpetuates that inequity.
Right. Excellent. Great. As we're wrapping up here, I think I just want to give both of you guys a block of time, say a minute or two, just kind of as you guys are taking on large projects going into 2026, what you think Cole County residents and voters should know. I'll start with you, Larry.
Well, for me, I just want to make sure that anybody that turns 62 before January 1st of this year should come in and fill out a new application for the senior tax freeze, so they can get that in the process and freeze their tax liability going forward from 2026 on. If they freeze it this year, then any of these increases Tim is talking about in assessed value shouldn't have a large impact on them. And again, we're freezing the tax liability, not the assessed value, and I think Tim is going to hit on that. So.
Right. So appreciate the opportunity to get this information out there. Anyone who is participating in the senior freeze will still get an impact notice from us. We will still continue to value their property, but their tax liability will be based on what that value was the year they entered the program. So if you get in for 2026, your value will be, your taxes will be frozen based on the value of your property in 25, because 26 is not a reassessment year. It's every odd numbered year.
Right.
If you wait until 27 and you already qualify, then the reassessment, the way I understand it, the increase in value, that's what your baseline will be.
Mm-hmm.
But just because we send an impact notice, if you've already enrolled, your tax liability should not go up, other than the blind pension fund and the school bond levy, the indebtedness levy, and those would be minimal the way it's been explained to me.
Right, as a percentage of property tax.
Yes, and we'll try to explain that the best we can in the impact letter, but at the same time, I think some people will just say, oh my gosh, my value's going up, this wasn't supposed to happen. I had a value freeze. It's not a value freeze, it's a tax liability freeze.
Right, and those two things can operate completely separate off of each other.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And again, I just want to stress, fairness is the objective of my office. We want to be as close to, we want to have everybody at the same level of what they're supposed to be at based on the value of their property. And without science behind what we're doing with the sales comparison analysis, it's very hard to do that. There's a lot of subjectivity involved in that. And so our number one objective is fairness. Everybody says, Tim, you're going to raise my taxes. I don't raise your taxes. I value property as accurately as I can and as fairly as I can. Larry doesn't raise your taxes. It's your school board, your fire district, your library district. They're the ones who set the levy. And hopefully the Hancock Amendment will be a safeguard within the framework of that. I know the Assessors Association is strongly in favor of the levy by subclass. I don't know if Larry's in favor of it because it means more work for him, but it would protect each of the subclasses. If they saw a big increase in commercial value or personal property value or residential, there would be a levy in place for each of those subclasses, and the Hancock Amendment would cap each subclass's increase by 5% of the CPI, whichever is the lesser of the two.
Mm-hmm. And that makes it, by categorizing it, you're not, the blanket approach that you say is unequitable, you're taking that out of the equation.
Correct. Right now, the rollback is on the aggregate, which includes personal property, commercial, residential, railroad and utilities, and ag. And so they all make up the aggregate. So the rollback, if residential increased by X percent, the rollback would be on the whole aggregate instead of just the subclass.
Gotcha. Excellent. I think we're going to wrap up here. I appreciate you guys joining me once again. County Collector Larry Vincent.
Thank you.
Thank you. And County Assessor Tim Teroff.
And can I just,
Go ahead.
It's Theroff. It's Theroff.
Oh,
It's TH. I know a lot of Germans kind of,
Sure.
Yeah, but it's TH. It's
You got it.
Theroff. So,
got it.
okay, very good.
Awesome.
And thank you
And
for
that's
the
why they
opportunity.
spell it.
Won't have the extra E in there yet.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us, guys. I'm Matthew McFarland, Cole County Government Reporter for the News Tribune, and thank you for watching. Good night.